Our guest, John B. Wells, is on the line. John, again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your weekend to spend it with us.
It's a pleasure. I'll tell you, the State Fair of Texas is in full swing, along with Texas OU Weekend, a legendary rivalry among University of Texas alumni and the ones that are going there now or have kids there or something. It's just a nightmare in Oklahoma University. The best thing to do is just get close to a radio and relax.
There you go. You want to take another call?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Caller, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk. You're on with John.
Yeah, this is Charlie out in Destin, Florida. How y'all doing?
Good, Charlie. How are you?
I'm damn good. You got John B. Wells on the line. He's my hero.
He's there.
How you doing, John B.?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing darn good. Hey, I got a question for you. I hear this Alex Jones on George Norrie's show. I thought he was your buddy. And, I think it's chicken scratch. He's just cuddling up to old Georgie like a love bear. And I think they're a bunch of frauds, and I think you're the man. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I've met Alex. I've never actually met George Norrie, which is very interesting. And of course, why would I? I mean, I'd either have to go to St. Louis or
I can't listen to him anymore, John.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. They've been associated for a long time, so Alex has got a lot of viewers, and George has got a lot of listeners. So I guess they just what's that?
He's just kissing George, snuggling up to little George, just snuggling George. I'm getting sick of it. And I'm going to listen to him anymore. I really just cannot stand George Norrie or Alex Jones anymore, John, and I love your show, okay?
Okay, well, I appreciate you, brother. Just, don't, all you got to do is just take a finger there and just change the channel.
Turn the dial.
That's all you got to do.
How do I become if I get this, you guys have an app?
Yeah. We got an app. Everybody's got to have an app. You go to it's just for iPhone right now, which, like I like to say, never fails to deliver when hacked. But if you got one, you can go to the App Store and just punch in Caravan to Midnight, comes right down. And in fact, we're working on an Android app right now, and it should be out in the very next few weeks. Maybe even have it by Thanksgiving. I hope so. I think we will. So get you an app, man. Tune in. Like I like to say, turn on, tune in, and beam up.
Charlie, thanks for calling from Florida. That's the great thing about radio. You can twist the dial or click the mouse now or slide your finger and be rid of stuff.
Yep.
Art Bell, I just like to get your Art, I think, kind of started, well, he did start the whole thing. I hope that we're going to see him back. I enjoy listening to his old programs. He was kind of the guy that kicked this whole thing off.
Yes, he is. I was such a fan of Art for a long time, and I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why he kept quitting. It's like, would you stop that? In fact, I woke up at about, I think it was just about 4 o'clock in the morning in like 1998. And I actually heard him say, well, something's happened with his family and he's got to go, so goodbye. And I went, did I really just hear that? And sure enough, he wasn't on the next night. I just thought it was strange. So I hope everything goes well for him. I was tuned into his return on satellite radio, and
that sounded like it was a big debacle of some sort.
Yeah, well, I just wish he'd come out of the chute just really strong and just, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. The corporations have a way of taking the wind out of your sails, even a salty dog like Art. So I just wish him well. It'd be great to hear him back on the air again.
Well, the one thing that I do love about, and I truly say that, I love doing it at this station, is we are one of the few, and you're in the business, we are one of the few true independents. We don't report to corporate America. Yeah, we play NBC News, and we get a lot of people that complain. We've tried all kinds of different stuff, but their satellite system works good, and their timing is pretty good, and it's just that simple. And you got to throw a little something up at the top of the hour, but it is an honor to work for an independent station where you don't have all of that corporate BS hanging over your head.
Well, I don't mind telling you that you're in exactly, in my opinion, exactly the right groove. The only way to make, ridiculous amounts of money in the business, for however much that's worth now, as Bunker Hunt said one time, $1 billion isn't what it used to be,
right.
And ain't it the truth? But the only way is with independently operated stations, independently owned and operated stations, because as soon as you get into that big matrix, things change. You have to do it their way, or you won't be around long.
That's right.
And
That's right.
It's just how it is. But we're actually on a couple of stations now, and WRKO in Boston carries a couple hours on Saturday nights, and at some point they may expand us. We'll just have to wait and see. But the thing is that because we record this program, we're able to just eliminate some problems. Sometimes the guests that we bring on they're in different parts of the world, and,
right.
It's just a lot easier to do it. So people might say, well, wait a minute, why would I subscribe to your service if you're going over the air? Well, I got an answer for that, and it is this. Not everything that's talked about on caravantomidnight.com is, shall we say, suitable for broadcast over the general airwaves, because some of the information, some of the guests are some of that stuff is very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a little bit too strong for putting it. I'm not talking about bad language or any of that, but just the subject matter is a little bit stronger. Just go blowing it out all over the place where people are liable to. They can't play it back. Now, what did he say? Or what did that guy say? What? They can't do that. And so they may think they heard something that they didn't. Because of the volatile nature of the data, we really don't want to get them wrong. So we don't want them to get it wrong. So, number one, they get the entire show. They get it first before it ever goes onto the radio. They get video with it, and they have the access to the archives. There's almost 150 programs in there already. So that way we take care of our beloved and blessed caravanners, but we're still able to spread the word a little bit over terrestrial radio. So we'll just see how it goes. But so far, it's independent, with the exception of WRKO in Boston. It's independent stations that are doing it. So that's kind of good.
Without a doubt. When did you start Caravan to Midnight, John? When did you start it? How? And well, obviously we know the why, but I mean, well, maybe we don't know the why. In your thoughts on podcasting, and I, being in the business myself, this is not my day job. I'm an IT guy by day, but what's your thoughts on it? Where do you think it's all going?
Well, you're right. I didn't know what I was doing with it. I got the domain name caravantomidnight.com back in '06, before I had even done a guest slot on Coast or done any talk radio at all. And that's kind of telling right there. I mean, what are the chances of somebody doing no talk radio whatsoever and winding up getting a guest slot at Coast to Coast? The thing about it is, a lot of people did. There have been several. There have been a number of people who sit in as guest hosts, but this kind of took off, and it was helpful that I had theater training and could control myself a little bit, control your nerves. When you open the mic at Coast, it's like, wow, there are a whole lot of people listening, so you better not screw this up, But I didn't really know what I was going to do with Caravan to Midnight. Actually, I borrowed that name from an old 1978 LP of the same name. And I thought, that's cool. Now, of course, the record had absolutely nothing to do with the title, which was somewhat normal. Mm-hmm. I thought that's a very, very interesting thing. As time went on, I saw the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist. It's 5 minutes to midnight, when the humanity destroys itself on account of its affinity for nuclear things. And I thought, yep. And then I heard Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams, in this movie called Insomnia.
It's a great
with
movie.
Pacino. Yeah, remember that? You remember,
Oh, yeah.
Remember he was such a corny writer, but he was calling Pacino in the middle of the night, and he goes, yeah, midnight, too late for yesterday, too early for tomorrow, that sort of thing. And I thought, that's corny, but that's also true. That one little instant that is midnight is everything that was is gone, and everything that shall be is coming. Everything that was is gone, and everything to be comes on. So I just thought, that's a groovy name. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. But then, right after the Fukushima thing, in 2011, I set up the website, and because as soon as I heard that, I knew it was a disaster on a magnitude that the world had not faced before, and still is. Horrible. And so I went to my mad scientist laboratory, looking at my Geiger counter. It was this giant thing with this big wand on it. I thought, you can't carry that around. There's a lot of stuff coming in from overseas. And so I think we better find some smaller ones. So we found some smaller ones and put them up on the site. And all we did, when anything that we made from selling them, we just bought more product. And it eventually turned into other products, water purifiers, things like that, because I was very concerned about chlorine and fluoride, and we'd always had some sort of a water purifier in there, but they weren't really fluoride specific. I had no knowledge of any that existed that would do that. So I had vapor distillers for a while, and that'll get you close. But distilled water is not really good for you because it strips stuff out of you. It's a very good cleansing water, but there are no minerals in it. You need those. So if you just drink strictly distilled water, you better take a mineral supplement, because you're going to need it. But anyway, one thing led to another, and then when I left Coast, it was like, we got to do something like right now, because I want to keep talking and I want to keep getting the word out. And we're at a spot in our history now where somebody needs to say something, and they need not to have someone telling them what they can and can't say. And this censorship is out of control. All these networks are practically reading the same words as if they're reading the same script, and they are. So I thought, we should probably delay this 30 days, because this is going to be a real wild, careening takeoff. It really is. But to heck with it. Let's do it. If the people don't like it, we'll find out. And if they do like it, we'll find that out too. So let's just do it. And the people responded. It's beyond anything I ever thought I'd see in my career. I'll tell you that.
Well, your site's amazing, and the guests that you have, and I've listened to several of your interviews, and they definitely hold you at bay. I mean, you it's hard to not complete them, to finish them, and that is without a doubt the great thing about the podcasting and the internet. And you don't have to sit there and on a Saturday night when you could be out having a few drinks somewhere and a nice dinner, and you can listen to it at any time. And I commend you on the site. I thoroughly enjoy it and thoroughly enjoy the shows, and I'm just glad that you continued on, and I think it's going to go a long way. It's the future.
I sure appreciate those words. I really do. I am happy, very happy that you find value in it, because it's like what you were saying a while ago. It's about your audience. It's not about us. It's never been about us. That's like, you might as well sing in the shower and nobody ever hears you. If you sing where people can hear you and they like it, they go, I like the way you sing when you sing it that way, but I don't really like the way you sing it that way. Well, you can't just say anything you want to people. You can, but I like to say you have to invoke German rules, which is you can say whatever you like, but be polite.
Right.
And
an opinion,
Absolutely, and people get their feelings hurt. We need to evolve another stage, but they're keeping us from that. They are keeping it. Who's they? The people who govern us, the ones who govern us with guns and money. Gerald Celente, I spoke with him the other day, and he said the 6 dirtiest words in the world are Harvard, Yale, Princeton, bullets, bombs, and banks. And I couldn't argue with a thing. Nothing with his argument that could I find a flaw in whatsoever. It's like, yep, that just about covers it all, Gerald. Excelente, Celente. He is he's amazing. And I said it's great to have, you know, the Italian guy talk to us.
Right.
And he goes, I am of Italian descent, but I'm an American first. He's just a great spirit. And what he says is correct. I mean, look at these schools. Look what's happening in our schools. Somebody sent me a copy of you've probably seen this. It was like some 6th or 7th grade English exam from 1846. And I looked at this thing and I thought, I've never been confronted by any test like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because people really knew things back then. The ones who wanted to learn did learn, and they were schooled in all those excellent classical writings. Those soldiers in the Civil War that would write to their wives and their sweethearts these beautiful letters and in cursive writing that was prettier than any calligraphy I've ever seen. And now they've decided that, it's elitist to teach cursive writing in school. What? You might as well say it's elitist to paint a picture. It's elitist to shine your shoes. It's just disgusting. This is what happens when we allow the majority not to be raised up to where we think we are, educationally, intellectually, culturally, or otherwise. Well, it's elitist to think that you're advanced over them. Oh, really? Really? I don't think so. Crude is crude.
Well,
you know?
One thing I'd like to get your take on, speaking of education, and you know, this is something that I preach all the time. I think today's youth is so controlled by social media. That phrase, that term, social media. I mean, if you really dissect it and tear it apart, the kids of today, they don't even look up in the sky and smell the flowers and breathe the air. It's just text, Facebook. It's like they're living in a vacuum. And the powers to be, whoever they may be, control that vacuum. It's insane. These kids, these young kids. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the internet, because I think it's a great thing. It brings out the information. If it wasn't for the internet, half of my listeners wouldn't be here. Caravan to Midnight wouldn't be there. But I think that today's youth and these kids of today, I mean, they've got to get out of this rut of being in this tube with this technology that is just, it's controlling the kids.
I agree with you, but you know what? I think part of the problem is that it's not that they're doing something that's unproductive deliberately. I mean, by like playing Angry Birds continuously, so to speak. I think what they're doing is they're withdrawing. I think that's why I really believe that because of all these things that have happened to them. I mean, we're 5% of the world's population, and we take half of the prescription drugs. There's something bad wrong there. There's something wrong there, and then you got fluoride and chlorine in the water, and you got all these things in food, the genetically modified organisms, the high fructose corn syrup, the hydrogenated oils, and on and on and on and on. And we're the number one most obese. We are the most obese nation on earth, followed by Mexico, and they ain't real healthy down there. The population at large is not. Of course, the ones who have money, they live well, but it's like this Mexican cab driver told me one time. I was in Acapulco, of all places, back in the 80s. And he said, that's the hospital where the people go to die. And when you go to the hospital to die, he shrugged his shoulders and he said, if you got money, you make it. If you don't got money, you don't make it. Why didn't we invest in that country? Why did we invest in China? I mean, is somebody holding a gun to our head? I mean, what's going on? Did they threaten to launch on us if they didn't, and just say, the hell with you people. You think the Great Wall of China is cool, you ought to see what we've built underground. It doesn't matter if we lose 1 billion people. We'll still have over 3 times what you had before we launched on you.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, maybe. But anyway, I don't even remember where we started. You asked these questions, and they get me, my little brain just goes spinning off. But the long and the short of it is, between all the things that have happened to them physically and mentally, and all these stimuli everywhere, signs, lights, this, that, cars, traffic, noise, jets, everything. they've just withdrawn a little bit, which is why I think it's given them an attitude. The vaccines inducing autism, CDC lied about it. It's as much as said so, that this MMR, the mumps, measles, and rubella vaccine, causes autism, period. I was wondering where all this autism and cancer, it's like, I'd ask as a really old person, did you ever see anything like this when you were a kid? And they're like, absolutely not. And as far as life expectancy is concerned, one guy who was in his 80s said, you know, you hear all this stuff about life expectancy being longer. He goes, John, it's just not true. He goes, when I was a kid, you had people that live over 100. Some of them died in their 20s. Some of them died in their 80s or 90s. He goes, it's not a bit different now than it was. There's just more people, and they can spin the statistics any way they like. And it's true. Mm-hmm. But all this stuff is building up on our young people, and we should cut them some slack. But we're going to have to bring something to the party, or they're not going to even understand that we're trying to cut them slack and get them to bust out of their shell.
Exactly.
I mean, we have convinced at least 2 generations of people that it doesn't make any difference what you do. You are no better than the lowest form of human being on this earth. The most uncultured, crude, violent person, you're no better than they are. You're no better. You tell them that, and you... So that's why they're angry, and that's why they think they can tell the cop, the parent, the teacher, the preacher to go bleep themselves, because they're angry. They don't care. They've been taught not to care. Now, the next step is apathy. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, then the people that want to control us, and they exist, then they've got us. All they have to do is take it to the next stage, which is apathy. We were just about there when all of a sudden people, because of Jones and because of Norrie and because of Art and you and others in the field, because we were going, hey, you know, a few people heard it. They began to tell their friends. It starts spreading. It becomes a movement. Then you got George Bush going, well, we can't indulge or entertain any of these conspiracy theories. Okay, well, then quit lying and making it so transparent, sir. Mm-hmm. You work for us. We gave you a job. You're not doing it. Why are you still there? And all that stuff about him sounding like an inarticulate moron who could barely form a sentence. To me, that was nothing but an act.
Sure.
I mean, the whole thing was just an act. But we're turning around right now. And I got a feeling that the young people are going to be with us, but we have to set the example. And we must not instruct them. We must just gently, because we don't have any credibility with them.
Right.
Nor should we have any credibility with them. But we have to be able to tell them, listen, we screwed up big time. We screwed up big time. My generation, the baby boomers, maybe a little bit younger than that, we screwed up. We got sold a bill of goods. We fell for it. We screwed up and trusted this government. We did not do what the founding fathers told us to do, which is, you better watch this bunch, because if you don't, you're going to be in shackles before you know it. We screwed up. We did.
Right.
And there is energy out there that's free, and there are technological that we can drive rather than let technology drive us like we're doing now. To where now, I mean, what have we got? A bigger phone, a bigger phone. Oh, look, it's got even more bandwidth. Oh, look, the internet is faster. It's like, that's not what we're looking for. Those are toys and trinkets. What they've done is they've done the same thing as the European Caucasians did to the Native Americans, which is, see these beads? Tell you what, I'll trade a wagon full of these beads for all that land over there. Okay, sounds like a great deal to us. We got plenty of land. Besides, we wander around all over the place anyway, so it's a deal. They took advantage of them. They weren't honest with them at all. And then when the Indians got wise to it, or whatever you might call them, the originals I call them, and they got mad and went, well, let's just kill these people. You can't really blame them. So, I don't know. I never cared for the music much, but I definitely see their point, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. A couple questions came in for you. Let's switch gears just a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry about.
Well, see, that's the problem. I was already a talker, and then I got into talk radio. Now I can't shut it off.
It's okay. That's why you're here. That's why I'm shutting up and letting you talk.
Okay.
Good friend of the show's wrote in and said, does John possibly think aliens are working with certain governments or government officials?
You bet. You can write that on the wall, and have been for a long time. Absolutely, positively. If you go back and really look at this stuff, and I'll tell you now, Unsealed Alien Files is a 30-minute show.
Yes.
But if you watch that series, you'll notice that, there are some recurring things that come up through the shows, which is kind of good because it's almost like studying for a black belt. You always, whenever you do your forms, you always start with your white belt first and work your way through. So no matter how long your career is, you're always going to perform the form for your first degree or your first belt before you go on to the other ones. That's just an algorithm, But you find out that by the time you've watched, let's see, we got 3 seasons of that. And by the time you've watched 3 seasons, you won't wonder about whether there's government collusion with extraterrestrials. You listen to John Lear, and he'll say some things that'll make you absolutely just go, oh, come on, dude. But I have the feeling Mr. Lear is pretty close to the truth, if not right on it. They are not about to tell us what's out there. They're not going to do that. Why would they do that? What's in it for them to disclose this to us? President Truman already did it. If a person were to just go to YouTube and type in President Truman mentions flying saucers, just look at his face and listen to him. In 1952, Washington, D.C. got swarmed by them. But all you have to do is just keep telling people. They just kept doing that Obi-Wan Kenobi deal. Mm-hmm. You don't need to see his papers. Right. He can go about his business. Move along. That technique works. And people have just decided, okay, well, I guess it's just a weather balloon. Well, it's not a weather balloon. But the other part of that is, what are you going to do about it? Well, you keep doing what you do until maybe you've got an anti-gravity craft. You can go up there and chat with them or something.
Do you think in our lifetime we're going to see something that is going to be undisputable? Do you think that I've read the different books and talked with the different researchers and some say, well, hey, they've conspired with our government and they can take X amount of humans and experiment and we can do this and you give us technology. Do you think someday we're going to see something in maybe the not too distant future that's going to put all this to bed? We're going to see something in the sky that no news station is going to write it off as a weather balloon or as swamp gas or as Venus. Do you think we're going to see something that's just going to undisputably say, yeah, there's something out there?
Well, I think that we already have. It's just that not enough of us saw it. I mean, there have been sightings of these things that are like 1.5 miles, 2 miles long, and about 0.5 mile wide down in central Texas before.
Right.
There have been many sightings. I mean, just like those 2 women and that child, like Landrum and somebody else, that had a flying saucer come over their cars, and one of them died from radiation sickness, had terrible radiation burns, and the other woman suffered some health problems too. So, I mean, they've already shown themselves. Do I think that it's going to be like the day the Earth stood still, where it's just like, okay, we're shutting off your city and we're landing over here on the lawn? Take a good look. And this is my buddy Gort, the guy with the laser beam face. So what do you think? You're going to chill out or do we whack you? I don't know. They seem to always show up around these nuclear missile defense bases or offense bases, however you look at it. Because every murderous rebel leader, he's a freedom fighter, and his army is an army of freedom fighters, and of course every nuclear missile base is a defensive base. Couldn't possibly be offensive. So that's just political correctness, I suppose. But at least the Russians are straightforward about it. It's nuclear rocket base. Gotcha. So you can dish it out as well as dish it out after you're in the position of taking it. That is correct. Okay, swell. They always show up around these bases when nuclear tensions get high. And back in 1980, when that thing landed at RAF Bentwaters, I got to speak with Nick Pope and John Burroughs were on there together, mm-hmm. And then I spoke with Peniston by himself. No, wrong. It was Nick and Peniston, and I spoke with John Burroughs. He's the guy that actually touched the craft. But he wasn't gushing out a bunch of stuff. There had been a couple of segments on him in Unsealed Alien Files, and he didn't just gush with information about, oh yeah, I did this, and then I saw all these ones and zeros. I had to sort of pull that stuff out of him. And it turned out that he told us that he could see these ones and zeros and just wrote like 16 pages of them. And then he was out there, I think he was with Linda, if I have the story straight here, he was out doing something along an investigative film agenda, and Linda Moulton Howe was there, and somebody in the crew said, what are those? What's that in your notebook? So there's a bunch of stuff I wrote down from after I touched the whatever it was. And so a guy came over and looked at it. He goes, that looks like binary code. Could I have a copy of these? And so he decoded the message. There's something about ongoing planetary development. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if this was an ongoing, perhaps there's an interstellar police department that is capable of blowing stuff up, yeah. But, whenever we send up a fighter jet to go talk to them, they always run. They just disappear. Every once in a while, you'll annoy one of them, and he'll shut your airplane off or something, or turn your weapons panel off, or mess with you in some way. But I think maybe there have been some airmen lost in encounters with out of this particular part of the galaxy's pilots. There have been reports of crashes and people lost, but it's a training accident, as Tony Stark said in Iron Man. It's the usual BS. So that was unbelievable, and the thing came back. And I said, well, what did it look like? And he said, well, it was like a triangle. I said, what was the surface like? He said, it was just smooth, and it was black, and it was a triangle. He says about 9 feet on each edge. It had these runes on it and stuff. It was just, I said, what kind of landing gear did it have? And he goes, I don't know what kind of landing gear it had. It was some sort of advanced technology that had been applied to this landing gear, but it wasn't a normal landing gear. And I didn't want to really push him on it because it seemed like he was sort of like, it just kind of bugged him. It was almost like he was there again. I mean, I'm just extrapolating on something. It's just fanciful for me to say that, but it just seemed to really kind of bug him a little bit because he couldn't tell me, was it floating, whatever, but there were impressions that had been left in the ground. So, nobody knew what it was. And Colonel Charles Hall, this is a hardcore military man, and he says, I'm going over there. You get me a Jeep. I'm not putting up with this. Let's go. You can hear his voice on that tape recorder he carried around going, this guy's worried. He doesn't know what this is. He's never seen it before. And then it just left, and there wasn't anything anybody could do about it. So, yeah, there's and then all those nuclear bombs that they decided to take down to Antarctica right after World War II. They let off 3 of them down there, is my understanding, to knock out a base that was there because Admiral Byrd went down there and was told, don't come back down here. Mm-hmm. He lost a bunch of aircraft, and he came back going, well, we had quite an experience down there, but I can't remember if he published anything or wrote anything about it that was released before he passed away. I don't know. But look, this has been verified. It's not a question of do these things exist. The answer to that is absolutely they exist, and they've been messing with us for a long time, and there's no doubt that they've been in contact with the world governments. No doubt in my mind about it whatsoever. We've made absolute quantum leaps in our technical capabilities. And this was not, we had to have had help, as surely as the people who built the Great Pyramid of Giza had help. You can't cut stone like that size, and place them like that. Impossible. But they did it. Somebody did it. So there are a lot of mysteries out there, and that's what life is all about. It's just exploring those mysteries and just be fearless. Just find out what you want to find out. If you're not interested, fine, but you should be. You got one shot at this life. Get into whatever you can get into that you like and that you're really interested in, that will improve your mind. Do that thing that for the Army was nothing but a slogan. Be all that you can be. Think all that you can think. Evolve. I don't think that if evolution is something that's imposed on us, I think we do it ourselves. It's a question of will we? Anyway, that's it.
No. I mean, you're right to the point. Let's bring up an old name for you. I just want to throw this out. Your thoughts.
Yeah.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. You know what? I don't know much about him. That's just the plain truth of it.
Honest answer. I know that I believe George Knapp interviewed him again. I know he kind of went off the grid a little bit. And
yeah, I never got a chance to talk to him myself, and never listen, working on Saturday nights. It's like, believe me, I was asleep early on Sunday night, so I wasn't listening to Coast on early Monday morning because it comes on from midnight to 4 in Big D. So no, I've missed virtually all of his interviews, and I simply do not know much about him. Although now that you brought his name up, I'll get into it. Is he still off the grid?
Well, I know Knapp interviewed him not too long ago. He's got a little company up in Michigan, a little engineering type company. My understanding was he wasn't doing too well physically, but interesting. Just like John Lear, I had John on the show, and just an amazing guy, an amazing interview. Didn't realize he had so many. I don't want to call them haters because that's a bad word, but people didn't agree with his theories on a lot of stuff. And we talked about flying and airplanes and everything that he's done. He's a legend in the aviation field, as you know. And then we started talking about bases on the moon, and the whole show went to hell in a handbag.
Oh, I know, man. It was something else, and I said I want to state this publicly. This program will live probably forever on the internet, or at least our concept of forever. And I want to tell you right now that it was the night of the 31st of March. And yes, when I got off the air, I said I have one more announcement to make, and that is it's April 1st. So April Fool's Day, everybody. And but that was not to say, but it just dovetailed perfectly into it because he had a fellow that came on. And they started talking, and it was like 2 billion people on the dark side of the moon or something, some really high number like this, and all of this stuff. And I was just like, wow, this is really kind of wild. So I just let him roll with it. I'm not going to argue with him or try and talk him out of it, but I'd never heard this kind of stuff before.
Yeah, he was interesting to talk with him,
I'll say it was.
Didn't even need to do the interview because the phone lines just kept lighting up for the entire hour and a half he talked about that. And it's like Stanton Friedman. I love having him on because all I can do is lean back and have a cup of coffee. I don't have to worry about doing anything,
Oh, isn't that the truth? Yeah, John's something else. So I just said I in no way meant to make that sound. It was just a little... just a little creative / poetic kind of license that I took. And it was, in fact, April Fool's Day. So if they want to think it was an April Fool's joke, okay. I didn't say a thing about it for 2 weeks. So they just never knew. Did he just play a 4-hour gag on us or what?
You ever going to go back to terrestrial radio? You ever going to, obviously, Caravan to Midnight is rolling. I don't mean that as a pun, but I mean it is. It's gaining and it's gaining and it's gaining. And would you ever go back and do AM or terrestrial radio again somewhere else?
Well, I'd love to do some sort. I got an internet connection as soon as I could back in the 90s, but I was looking at it and I thought, it's not ready. It's not ready yet. All that software we'd buy that wouldn't do anything that it was supposed to do, and so when it became possible to do it, then to really use it as a tool, then I started using it as a tool. The way things are now, if it was possible to, you can do it over phone lines, you can do it over ISDN, there are a number of ways to do it. But I really like this long format of being able to talk to people and just let them say whatever they want, and then do a condensed version of the show that if people like it and they would like to hear what was said that they didn't hear said over a terrestrial rebroadcast of the program, then please subscribe, because we don't, stopping every 10 minutes for breaks. That's just rough, out of every hour of programming, there was like 20 minutes of commercials. So, in a 3-hour program, an hour of it's commercials. I get all of that the stations need the money to be able to keep running. I get it. They're not all trying to make their yacht payments, you know what I'm saying? So, but just being able to do it and being able to do the long format, I guess the short answer is I certainly wouldn't rule it out. I love live radio and I love talking to people, so we're we're putting in a mechanism where we can actually take some callers and just get the word out. We're going to take callers and take some, because the caravanners are just, and the radio audience in general is just so interesting, I think. I miss it.
Are you going to move? You going to move to maybe a live format for some of your stuff? I know, like you said, you like to go through and do the interviews and put them together, and again, you're able to bring stuff. But the live audience and the live callers, without a doubt, as we saw tonight, do add that element of fun to it.
Yeah, they really do. The idea was to go live originally, but we just had, sorry about the noise, this is the VoIP phone, just picks up all the background noise louder than the voice that's like 2 millimeters from the microphone. The idea was to go live originally, but then we realized, wait a minute, you have any idea how much bandwidth we're going to need to do this?
Right.
And so as more sophisticated apparati are wheeled out there. I mean, and the United States is number 31 in quality of internet service. It's like $700 a month, or we'll get you 5 up and 5 down, and overseas they'll pay something like 50 euros a month in the Netherlands, for example, and they've got, I don't know, 100 up or 50 up or something, and 200 down, some ridiculous speed like this. I don't think those are the actual numbers, but it's a lot higher than what we're going to get for less than shelling out, monthly mortgage payment sized money. So, when it becomes possible to do that, then we will. But we're also having a lot of interference, and it wasn't just because we didn't plug something in correctly. We were, we'd get the color wheel on all the Macs, the PCs would just freeze up and get weird, and stuff would disappear. Let me tell you what happened one time. No kidding. I went to an email box that I use for mostly, exclusively for clients who want me to record voiceovers for them. And there was one from the little agent girl up in New York City. And so it was, hey, John, would you read these 2 lines? And I said, okay, so I'll do it. So I recorded it, attached the MP3. It was a real small one. So I just attached it to her, replied to her, recorded it for her, and sent it. So I thought, well, there's I can't remember his name at this moment, but he's a German guy, and he wanted me to, Einar. Yeah. So I said, well, Einar sent a couple. Let's see what's up with him. And I looked at Einar's email from Norway, actually. And all of the agent girl's content was in his email. So I clicked on the other one of his. And all of her content was in the body of his email. Well, by the time a couple of hours had gone by, all of the emails in that inbox had Kelly's content in them. So I called the hosting service and I said, what's up with this? And he says, well, I don't know. I said, well, get into it with you, because the only way that I can read what they sent is to click reply, and then I'll join the thread.
Right.
But this is weird because everything is on every email, and that happened twice. It's just stuff like that. So it really kind of it put a monkey wrench in our ability to go live, and we talked to the Caravanners about it, and they were cool with it. So it's like, hey, we don't care if you go live or not. Just get it up there and let's get it on. I mean, to a person, nobody bailed.
Right.
It was like, look, I don't want to come on here and tell you I'm going to do something and not do it. So if you bail, I get it. We're not bailing. Well, all right then. And when you got a few tens of thousands of people that are willing to back you like that,
you keep on going, brother. You keep on
it just doesn't get any better than that. I love these people, and so that's my story, and that's all there is. There ain't no more.
Well, I wish you the best, John, and I don't need to wish anything, because your track record is so proven, and like I said, I enjoyed listening to you for such a long time, and I've been going through the different interviews, and you hit it right on the head. I've had the honor. I've interviewed 570 people.
Wow.
I think you're 572 tonight since I've been doing this show, and you got to watch the boundaries, as you know, with the media, that we're using here. But going to what you're doing is cool, because you're touching on stuff that you just can't touch here. You can't do that. And I think it's going to take it a long way. I've actually thought about doing keeping people on after the show, after we go off the air, and switch over to another type of medium and keep, kind of do the personal side, if you will. But I'm kind of a one-man show here for right now, so.
I get you.
I can't, you can only do chief bottle washer and cook and toilet cleaner, and so. But it's fun, and I enjoy doing this every Saturday night, and love being here for 4 hours. It's about educating and being open-minded, and I kind of call myself a researcher's researcher. I'm not a ufologist by any means. I just try to bring everybody together like you do, and.
Well, you're doing the community a service. I mean, you're serving as a public trustee. You're bringing them stuff that they don't get. Where else do they get it?
Right.
So they're being served well by your being there, and I appreciate your comments. I just like I say, and I'm not somehow I just can't resist preaching a little bit, but I do. I owe it all to the great one. I'm not the leader of the Caravan. I'm number 2. And, it's funny, this really bright kid up at the University of North Texas designed this logo with a camel, a little string of 4 camels going in front of these pyramids in one of our logos. And nobody told him to do this. I've never actually even spoken to him because he's busy, and I am too. But the lead camel appears to have no one on it. But my view of things is that, there's somebody on it, all right. It's the unseen, invisible great one who's leading this caravan. And that one guy there on the second camel, that's me.
You're letting him take first place.
Oh, absolutely. I like to say I get all the credit for the Lord's good airplane flying and motorcycle riding, because I'm telling you, I should have been toast a long time ago, pal. I'm not kidding you either.
We've got a couple minutes left, and we got a few questions that came in. Just want to get your high level on this. What's your opinion about some of these jump rooms? People jumping in boxes and ending up on the dark side of Mars.
At this stage of things, after the, I've been throughout this galaxy, and I've seen a lot of strange things, but I've never seen anything like a box you could jump into and wind up coming out on Mars. However, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. I'm just going to say that I'm not going to encourage anybody to try something like that at home, not having verified that, number one, it can be done, and number two, that you can return safely if you need to. So I know nothing about this.
Okay. Well, I mean, the jump room technology, I've heard about this many times, that our president has been there, and there's reptilian-type creatures chasing people around. And
well, see, the thing is, it wouldn't surprise me, though. It really, really wouldn't.
I know.
I'm just saying that I'm a Missouri-born Texan, so it's gotten even worse than show me. It's gone all the way to now look.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, and I'm not going to say the president's going to go. I don't know.
Right.
But it's fascinating theory.
Oh, it is. It is. How about Stargates?
Oh, without a doubt, they exist. Now they've turned around and said that black holes do not exist because they were theoretical from the beginning, right?
Yes.
Except they managed to create one up at that lab. I can't remember which one it is. It's up in New York State. They said, well, don't worry about it. We created this little black hole, but we don't think it's the type that will absorb all the known reality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's good. Go ahead, switch it on.
Let's see what happens.
So they're going back and forth on this. I suspect that when something is released like that it means that they absolutely do exist, and they're probably being used in some way, and those may actually be your Stargates. Again, I don't know, but I suspect that, just given the look, there's nothing out there that is free from politics and spin. So generally, if you look in the opposite direction of where they're trying to direct you, you can divine the truth. So yeah, I believe Stargates exist without a doubt.
Okay. Tell our listeners before we've got a little less than 2 minutes left. The 2 hours went way too quick. CTM, where can they? You have people can subscribe to your program, correct?
Yes, sir. Cheap, $5 a month, 15 for 3 months, 30 for 6. If you want to take the plunge and go to 60 for the year, you'll be glad you did. There's almost 150 shows in there already. Just go to caravan2midnight.com. Do not use numbers. Do not omit any letters in midnight. Just caravan2midnight.com.
Okay.
And if you want to go to our YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/caravan2midnight. A bunch of stuff will come up there, and you can sample some programs and see if you like it, and we hope you join us. And I think you'll get good value out of it. As I like to say, I think you may like it. So
I know they will. John, I want to thank you so much for being here tonight and taking a couple hours out of your weekend. And I know I let you do all the talking, but it was kind of like the old days of listening to you on Coast to Coast, and I appreciate you taking time to be here, and it was an honor to have you here, and I would surely love to have you back again.
Well, I'd love to come back anytime, and I'd like to have you on Caravan to Midnight sometime if you have time to do that.
I would be more than honored to be there.
I had a great time. Thanks so much for having me on.
John, take care. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
You too, sir.
Bye-bye.